Hey, welcome back to another Habs Notebook Podcast with hockey coach Francis directly for the Beautiful Country of Thailand on amazing great Tuesday night, February 11, 2025. Be ready for the Valentine Day. Some of you are not single like me, so we have to prepare. Be ready for the great day of February 14th. But before that, we have something's going on. The Four Nation tournament in the NHL. If you are not excited, I don't know what you're looking for in hockey. Because you have to be excited about that tournament. Sweden, USA, Canada, and Finland are going to be a face-to-face, a round-robin of 3 games. And then going to be the only one final game is going to happening at February 21st, if I can recall it properly. But it's going to start tomorrow night. And to do that, we're going to do a preview tournament tonight. I'm going to talk about the Montreal Canadiens. We have a specific subject about are you concerned about the Montreal Canadiens? So we're going to mix both together. And why not to do it with my co-host of the channel every day, every time we do the notebook. I'm talking about Marko, but we bring in the house Mr. Tap directly from Toronto, and maybe some snow over there. I don't know what's going on as the weather, but he is back with us for the back-to-back evening with the Hockey Nation live show.
Hello, Coach. Hello, Marco. Great to be with you guys and everybody else from Hockey Nation tonight. Are we excited for this Four Nations tournament?
I'm pretty excited. First of all, man, good to be back with you, man. It's been a little while, so good to be back with the old crew. So I'm really excited. I think we've been building this up for a while. We haven't had best on best in a while. It's hard. It's always hard, right? In life, you have to be grateful for what you have and not focus on what you don't have. What we don't have is Russia and, some of the other teams, a lot of great NHL players that won't be represented. So, a bit of an asterisk when you say best on best, right? But we'll talk about it, I'm sure. But the opportunity to see, especially Team Canada, some players that we've never seen play together that kind of just in your own little hockey nerd fantasy brain, you imagine what it would be like to see those players play together. Well, we're about to find out. So it should be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Absolutely about that. Until like maybe 48 hours, I was wait until the Montreal left, finished the break or start the break. I was not too much involved with the Four Nation, I was just looking around, couple news. But now I'm all in for the last 24 hours. Like, this is going to be great. I think it's 2016 last time we see something like that?
2014, I think, yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Right? And I think the interview of Max Stone he did yesterday, firing me up, and like this, what the way he was talking about the fact like this is going to be good. This is a preview of the Olympics in 2026. He said, if you take in the player does not take it very seriously, you are wrong because we're coming here to prove something and to wear that jersey is special. So I think the intensity will be there. I think the player is going to make something very good, and only see one game of the All-Star game where it's up and down, and that's all. I think it will be very good. And to see players play together, the Crosby, the McDavid, the McKinnon, and many others players for the Montreal for the Canada, that I think is great. And the USA will be good. We see Canada, USA, Saturday at 8 o'clock p.m. Don't miss that game because if you thinking this is going to be just a party time, no, don't expect that. It's going to be really hard. And we have a kind of, the Kachuk brother for the first time play for representative Team USA. They have some pride inside of that, and they have some player want to show and prove something. And you go to have all the other players around the NHL going to watch this tournament. And obviously, you may say a couple of countries. I wish you have a Russia team part of that tournament, but it is what it is at the end. But you have to be excited about this. This is a great opportunity for the people in Montreal to support and to watch those. Montreal is really lucky to have a tournament like that. It could be a Toronto, Vancouver, whatever. It could be other place. I think Montreal should be at that game to see what's going on with there. Hopefully, it will be a sellout the next at least Canada play.
The rich people in Montreal, though, Coach. Only the rich people in Montreal. Tickets are really expensive.
We have some comments now. You said the ticket's not the same thing, but whatsoever it is, I understand that the price is high. by the end. We'll be saying that, some corporation can maybe buy something like that. Who knows what could happen, but we'll see what happens. I'm excited about that one over there, and we'll see what that tournament. But before that, we're going to talk about the Montreal game where a couple of clubs pop up here, a couple of people pop up in the chat tonight. We'll welcome all of you. First of all, we have Claude Richard. Welcome back from Ottawa. And then we have from Kentucky with Iran. Right now, repair of course, in our tap is boating season. Send them in back in the house tonight. Philippe Brand, directly from Sherbrooke. De retour avec nous ce soir. Butch from Vermont, Massachusetts. One foot on one side, another foot on the other side, so in our tap. It depends what you want to watch this game, maybe on the Vermont side or on the Massachusetts side. We have Zeph Lecab. Welcome back, Zeph. Hopefully an amazing, great weekend. Mr. Zeph, ready to rock and roll. They're talking about what you like to do is to argue with other people. Just kidding, Zeph. We know what you're doing here. We love you, my friend. PLW, go tonight. We'll see what's happening about is bit of the week of the night, by the way. Alain Vianco again. We have Roy from Thailand, from Bangkok. Hopefully, Roy is not too mid like it is here right now in Pattaya. Joseph Phillips back in the house tonight. About that, Luc Fortin knocked the door tonight. David directly from Nova Scotia. Also the show last night. Great job, David, by the way. And we have I'm good also. We have N26 knocked the door tonight. Welcome back. Mac Elliott also is in the house. Welcome. And then sponsored by NHPL, possible Wildwood Cakes knocked the door tonight. Welcome back, Roy. PLW, K. Bonram is in the house tonight. Luciano knocked the door. Welcome back, Mr. Z. Welcome back, Mr. Z. Bonsoir, mon ami. Ça fait une coupe de soir, tu n'as pas vu. De retour avec nous ce soir. Larry Lavallée, directly from Arizona, is in the house. So we go around everything about that. We welcome all of you. Thanks to be a part of the show. Don't forget, please, to subscribe and click on the likes. And, of course, the subject of the night first will be that should you be concerned? We're talking three Swan players. We're going to talk about them. So we'll talk about Montreal Canadiens. And Marko is back. I have a couple of questions. I took a note, Marko, about your comments you did last night. So we'll go to sharing everything. Guys, if you have any questions, don't forget to put the little Q in front of you. Comments or posts. We're going to answer to your questions. It's a bit not an open night, but we are available for the next almost 2 hours talking about the Montreal or the Four Nations. Anything you want to talk about, but don't forget to put the little Q on the question. Luciano back in the house, Mr. Luciano, moderator of the Hockey Nation Live Show. So what we got for you, guys? First of all, we have three players. Montebo Armia Eleni is in the tournament of the Four Nations. Montebo is with the Team Canada. Looks like he's the third violon. Armia Eleni are with the Team Finland. Armia should be at the 4 line, Eleni on the second line for what we heard. Finland practiced today for the first time. They was day off yesterday. We're not going to go deep about that, both of you. I just mentioned the player will participate for the Montreal Canadiens for that. Maybe Montebo would be better to stay home and then this Logan Thompson, but go talk about the Four Nation guys a little bit later if you don't mind. That'd be good about this. Mark Elliott, no problem. We appreciate that. Has Reggie been found? Yeah, he's right now. He is on the recovery mode for sure. But yeah, Reggie he feel okay. He's feel okay now. He's looking to stay here for 1 year. So that's good news to hear that. We have notre ami Pierre de Saint-Jérôme arrive today in Thailand. So it's going to be interesting the next 2 weeks with 4 people together to go I-bar. Another story for the time. But the first news, Mr. Marko and our top, Dimitrov played this morning. I've got an assist, 26 of the season. He got 1 point, played 21 minutes. He started the game at the 4 line. And zip! We have a goal from the Dynamo, Rottenberg. He got panic. And now he got already the middle of the first line. Rottenberg is like, it is really funny to watching him behind the net. So Dimitrov finished 21 minutes. He played over 8 minutes during the third period. The SK was trailed by the score 3-0 until Dimitrov, they gave the pass to the right defense on the right side, and then they get the defenseman and score a goal. You can see his point. This is a 45 point for Dimitrov, by the way. And then On that point, he lead the SK with the most points scoring this season with the team, and also he's a 14 in NHL and the KHL. I apologize for that, but that's what it is. And then he participates on the weekend, guys, at the All Star game. He scored three goals about that. So I just want to mention sharing with you guys what happening for Demidov during the today, and he's impressive. Yeah, I'll be honest with you, he's impressive. Great opportunities, guys. They have a lot of John Anderson inside of his team, right? So sometimes the puck go fly around left and right, but he create opportunities. And if you have a better scorer with him, I think he will have more point. But good performance of Demidov today.
I don't think SKA has the same budget for glass than Montreal does. So hopefully there's not too many Josh Andersons on their team. But no, very exciting coach. Like he's been very dynamic over the last, in particular, last 15 games. He's really kind of cranked it up since Kent Hughes was taken hostage. It seems like when he went to Russia. So, man, maybe Demidov was told that he has to play really well, or they also wouldn't let Kent Hughes and Vincent Lecavalier go. I don't know, but something changed, obviously, for sure when they went over there. In this, like, I only caught the third period, and I guess he got a lot more ice time in the third period, and he was like all over the ice, really, really dynamic. So, yeah, really, really good. We heard, so a couple of lists have come out in the last couple of days where he's now, the number one forward prospect outside of the NHL. Most recently, Scott Wheeler came out with his list. So looking amazing, I think, with all kind of darkish times, that we've had. Oh, there you go. Great segue into the Scott Wheeler. So, so really, really exciting as we thought, so interesting. So I didn't see the full list here. So interesting list.
Well, there's
David Reinbacher. Okay. Michael Hage, 35th. Mayu and Roy still on there. Okay. All right.
So the list of the 100 players prospect by Scott Wheeler, guys, is the list of 23 years old and younger. So you cannot be 23 years old. And he evaluate every one of them. And he put even Demidov. This is the first time he does that list. He put a player for the Montreal Canadiens on the top of the prospect. So even Demidov is number one. We have 5 players on the top of the 100. Like Marko just said, that we have, of course, Michael Edge and David Reinbacher at 24, 35. And then we have Logan Mailloux and Joshua Roy at 58 and 82. But look, you have Guillaume, you have Lishinov, you have Perek about this, Will Smith, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But at the end of the day, this is a great list to see Montreal Canadiens. Montreal Canadiens considered also by Corey Proman. I think it's him, the top number, the third team, the most top prospect in NHL that was happening last week. So the future of Montreal is looking bright, right? And I understand people expect, everyone's going to be a good career. It's not at all. But we have a player like Demidov right now, guys. This is a special player. This is going to be interesting. Don't expect 100 points next year, but expect something fun to watch every game because Demidov is really it's just fun to watch. The guy, you never know where he's going to move left and right. He does not skate like anybody else. He have his own skate. The way he skate is stride, is different. He have his inside edge is crazy. His outside edge is amazing. He have great hands. And this is going to be fun the next couple of years, guys, to watch Demidov with the Montreal Canadiens. You will be so much into the team the next couple of years to see Demidov. So I don't know if you want to add something, and after Marko after that.
I think we're slowly starting to see the pipeline coming into effect here. And Demidov for sure will be somebody that keeps you at the edge of your seats. He's a dynamic player, and I agree with you, Coach. I mean, don't expect the world in the first year, but you're going to see a lot of exciting plays. I think when you put them together with some of the current players that they have, and specifically with Hudson, I mean, I can see a lot of excitement being generated, and not just the excitement, but finally some production as well.
Yeah, last thing I'll add, guys, is so this list, that had Montreal third overall for their prospect pool. I think I forget which podcast I saw him on, but he came on and he was talking about his list, right? And what was interesting is I forget the amount of years, but I think it was like 3 years ago, the LA Kings had the number one prospect pool, right? So by the same list, same criteria used, right? If you go through that list, though, there's only like 2 players from that list that actually really made it to the NHL, right? So these lists, like that's why we have a lot of like you have to be careful not to fall in love too much with your own prospects. And I know Enertap and Devin and Coach and I have all these in our group chat. We have all these debates all the time, and about like when's the right time to sell and these things is sometimes it's going to be the right timing because your prospects can kind of like peak in value at certain times, and sometimes if you wait too long then they can lose value too, right? So it's great that Montreal's ranked so high, but it doesn't, like you said, Coach, it doesn't mean that all those players are going to pan out either, right? So I encourage, go look at Corey Pronman's list for LA 3 years ago or whatever it was, and you have like guys like Fejemo. You've got like a whole bunch of players that were ranked really high, and you have players that were ranked really low that actually did make it to the NHL, like Spence, that's playing now for LA, and players like that, right? So it's exciting, right? But it's you have to also kind of be a little bit conservative with kind of how you think it's all going to play out.
Yeah, it'll be interesting what happening with that with Demidov, of course, and with time, like I said in the past, you both of you said all the time, right? It's just a question of time when Montreal get better and better with more talent around. The team will be better. Those players will go to perform better. But during the time, like you said, on prêche pour la paroisse. Comment on dit ça, Marco? In French, we say on prêche pour la paroisse, right? So I think Montreal fans have to be a little bit more cautious.
Preach to the choir.
Pardon?
Preaching to the choir.
Yeah. So, but I think expect Montreal a couple of prospects, and sometimes underrated players. But it's a good list to watch, to read. It's a good list to know more about the different prospect. And the other thing, guys, one thing is surprisingly on that list. I don't talk to, but I will just share with one thing, Marco. The Washington Capitals have 6 of them. So Washington Capitals remind me, guys, they have to give credit for the GM over there. By the way, he's like finished Dallas.
They retooled.
I'm sorry?
Like Dallas.
They retooled on the run.
Yes. And they got a couple of great return about that. So McLennan, I think it is McLennan. And then they have a new GM's coming next year. I forget his name. For the Capitals. So this is he's going to be president operation, Mr. McLennan. They have a new ones coming this year. He's already with the team, but the name I forgot. But that's happening for the Washington Capitals. It's good to see that. It's great to see, like you said, the Dallas Star has been that way over there. So thanks, Marco, to sharing that. Top prospect was won by subject, but good timing to do that. So I appreciate a lot, Marco, about that. So let's move on for other things, Marco. The first of all, we're going to talk about the ad rumor trade deadline. We talked about this yesterday, guys. We'll go a little bit an overview, talk a little bit more about Jake Evans. But tonight with Marco, we'll go a bit more deeper, but a bit more what Montreal can targeting, what they would like to get in return, and how many of them going to stay. And I'm going to talk about I did my video today about the Evans contract, what kind of money he can give. And I want to hear from both of you at the same time, so we can go all the way together on this one. And first of all, go to the Habs Sailor. We all agree with that part, for sure. Montreal Canadiens have a contract for Jake Evans. Now, Marco, you asked me that money, so I want to give you a little bit more information. If Montreal get a $4 million AAV to Jake Evans for the next 3 years, 4.5, 4.0, and 3.5% for Jake Evans if you get $4 million on the AAV. We know now the number is one thing, but Marco is very deep, and more people are deep now about the percentage of the salary cap, and the maximum in NHL is 20, by the way. And look like the Montreal are looking to return a second-round pick for Jake Evans. So, Marco, just sharing with you about the decision of Jake Evans. The last 24 hours, Saint-Pierre Lebrun mentioned this 48 hours ago. There's some other other direction that we heard from left and right. But give us a bit more how you feel and what you think about what's going to happen with Jake Evans.
Yeah. And so just to be clear, coach, the percentages you have there, are those on the existing cap or the projected cap over
The project for the next 3 years. So 88, 92, and 113 or something like that.
Okay, so that's if he was going to sign for $4 million. Okay.
Yeah.
So coach, I think obviously after Pierre Lebrun came out with that report saying that there was a huge gap or a huge not too much progress with negotiations, and then especially after the interview, I think the interview that Evans gave, coach, like you could read a lot into that. Like he said the first time he said it, he said it's been an honor, right? So he's referring to it like it's past tense, but then later in the interview he says it is an honor. So I don't know if you can read too much into his interview that he was like contemplating that he's going. I'm sure in the back of his mind he realizes that that's like a potential thing that could happen, but I'm not. I wouldn't read too much into all that. But again, like Pierre Lebrun is a very credible source, but there's one thing that popped into my head, guys. You guys remember the negotiation that the Vancouver Canucks had with Elias Peterson, right? Things weren't going super well. They weren't really kind of making any progress with the negotiation. And what did Vancouver do? They leaked to the media that they had a trade for Peterson to go to Carolina, right? And what would happen there? Like Pedersen's like, whoa! I kind of want to stay in Vancouver, and so I'm not saying that Montreal has done this again, but it's possible. Like I don't think we can rule out that Evans is still going to sign in Montreal. I think Renaud Lavoie was kind of hinting that that there's still a decent possibility that he signs with Montreal. But listen, anything's possible, right? Like for sure, it sounds as though Montreal has put out there in the media that they're looking for a second round pick. The only reason Pierre Lebrun or anybody else would know that is if somebody in Habs management wants them to know, in my opinion, right? It's not like they have a bug in the Montreal Canadiens boardroom and they have this information that they don't want to know, right? So for me, I'm always kind of a little bit, skeptical about these things. Like there's a lot of things that play here. So is Montreal sending a signal to Jake Evans and his agent saying, hey, like, we've told teams kind of what we're looking for or whatever. And if Jake Evans really does want to stay in Montreal, maybe that applies a little bit of pressure there as well. So this could go a lot of different ways, right? So if Montreal does trade him, then it sounds as though the asking price is a second round pick. But like Intertap was talking about yesterday, and it has been kind of floated out there, Montreal is going to be what they're calling a hybrid seller, which is Montreal is probably interested in packaging some of these assets, whether it be unrestricted free agents, picks, or even prospects, to land an impact player, quote unquote impact player. So I think that's kind of the market that Montreal is in. I think we've talked about it here since this summer, guys, and I feel strongly that Montreal is really done collecting assets like picks and stuff like that. It's time to spend those assets to start putting big pieces of the puzzle together. So if Evans is to move, if we're just talking about Evans here, we haven't talked about Armia and Savard and players like that. But listen, like it's a really tricky needle to thread here, right? Because Montreal is 6 points back with one game more played, I believe, than the eighth spot right now. But I don't think Montreal is necessarily ready to kind of hand in the towel. I think they're going to take this time over the break to really kind of assess what's going on. But I don't think we're going to see a fire sale where they sell everything. I think they still want to play some games here, and they still want to kind of move forward. And at least, but again, if there's a deal that makes sense for them, then I think they'll pursue it. But so guys, it's hard to read. There's a lot of kind of things going on. It's hard to really know kind of what their real strategy is. But I'm always very cautious, because I know Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon are very smart. Look at how they did the Demidov thing, right? Like setting all these kind of like little traps for teams, whether they were going to take them or not take them. Like they're very smart, and they know how to play the game too, right? So nothing would surprise me in terms of what they're going to do at the trade deadline.
Now, time, want to add something? We know you talked about this yesterday, but you want to add something? Add the comments from Marko.
No, I think Marco hit on quite a few points there. I mean, the situation is very fluid, and it's sort of unfolding as the games have progressed here. Like I think it's a different conversation if Montreal had won two or three last games. Then if they were still in the mix, I think they would have been a little bit more quiet at the trade deadline time. And with regards to Evans in particular, I mean, a lot of this is posturing, as Marco alluded to. You have to be kind of careful when you see these stories floating out there. I don't think that they're done in terms of trying to renegotiate his contract here in Montreal. But as Marco said, they're smart business people first, and if the ask is too much or too long in their eyes, then they're ready to walk away from it, but not before they try to augment the value of that player as much as they can, be it with a package that they offer to a team or, getting a prospect in return, because I think that that's the more probable direction they want to go. So, we'll see what happens, but I think it will occur one way or the other very soon.
There's kind of a ticking clock on it, right? Like, like something has got to happen here, like, so again, it's negotiations are a very delicate thing, right? And so I think it's delicate, right? Like because at the same time you can tell that Montreal's management team, they want to keep a stellar reputation with players around the league as well too, right? So you don't want to be too hard in negotiations, obviously, because like look at moves they've done with Petrie, giving him a sweetheart trade to where he wanted to be and things like that. So Montreal's management team, I think, does a really good job of balancing the strategic side of building their roster, keeping the player relations side of it open, because it's really important if you're going to attract players to play in Montreal. And then, just the idea of being a responsible cap manager too, right? Like understanding kind of what the impact is going to be to the team. So a lot of things that go into it. And then there's the last thing, right? Is what is the impact on the ice for this year? So I think even if they're in their mind, they see that the percentage chance of them actually making the playoffs this year, I don't think that necessarily means that they want to completely hobble this team down the stretch either, because they still want them to be competitive. They want them to try to return to the level of play that we saw, from mid-December to like mid-January, right? So like I said, it's a very fine needle to thread, right? And it's tricky.
And it's a definite advantage that Hughes was an agent at one point, so he really understands the process, the art of the deal. He knows the players very well because of his intense scrutinizing of players. So it's to the advantage of Montreal. So it's I kind of look forward to these times because it could tip the scale a little bit quicker for Montreal down the road in terms of their progression.
Absolutely. Like it's a like whenever you have an asset like this, and again, like it depends on the market too, right? Like there's not a lot of great centers on the market, that are free agents right now. You have maybe Scott Lawton that's out there. And I think it's a weird season. Yeah, Yanni Gord, but he's been injured as well. But yeah, so there's a couple. But what makes this season so unusual, guys, is the fact that there's so many teams in the running, right? It just makes it so tricky. So you think in theory, like I've heard people say that they think it's a buyer's market, but I don't know about that, because
I think it's a seller's market.
I think it's more of a seller's market, right? Because you have so many little teams that are willing to throw in the towel at this point. So, scarcity it creates demand, right? So like, to me, if there's not a lot of teams that are willing to start trading away pieces because they think they still have a shot, then in the past, we've seen Kent Hughes move quickly, right? This year was a little bit different. We saw that it was San Jose that moved the quickest with moving Granlund and Ceci. So they were kind of first out of the gate to really go and get that first round pick, right? But again, nothing would surprise me but I do have faith that they're going to do the right thing for the team here. Like I in terms of asset management, like other than maybe Kovacevic, you can kind of go back and question a little bit. I can still understand why they did it that way. But overall, I think their asset management has been very good. So I'm not too worried about what they're going to do.
Next thing's about Evans or Dvorak. Armia could get a third round pick maybe and stay or maybe stay and somehow stay. So we have the four player. No, we don't talk about Pesada. But do you think if they trade Evans or they trade Dvorak, do you expect both of them to one of them stay or not at all? If a possibility to trade both of them, or also do you think Armia at least a third round pick would move him, or they would keep him, and then Sabal comes at least with the motor again. So, and after you go start with that, just give us a little bit what you feel what Kenya is going to do.
Yeah, I think I'd be surprised if they moved both Evans and Dvorak, just because it really creates a hole up the middle. Like I know a lot of people, and I'm one of them that really likes the work that's been shown by Owen Beck, but I don't think it's the right time necessarily to bring him up, especially when Laval is doing well at this point. You want them to continue that flow. So, I don't see that happening, that both of them will be moved. One of them, I think for sure. Armia, it's a little bit trickier. I mean, obviously, you like his work ethic. You like the fact that he's a bigger body. He's tough on the puck, and he can really still contribute to the team. And if a third round pick comes along, do they go for it? I think they look at it from the perspective of, if they sign him, what will it take? That's the first question that needs to be answered. And I think he's making just over $3 million right now, if I'm not mistaken. So is he going to take a cut? I sincerely doubt it. So you're probably looking at, probably 3.5 or a little bit higher for his retention. So I think that he may be either packaged together with somebody or just moved on his own. But again, the picks aren't the big thing. Like we have, I think somewhere around
13 picks. I think we have 13 picks in the first 3 rounds or something like that.
It's crazy. Yeah, I was thinking of this year and next year. I think they have like 22 picks or something like that. So, and a lot of kids still in the pipeline that are already there. So, I would expect something to happen for sure. Now with Savard, for me, I mean, I think if they were still in the mix, I think he definitely stays. In these circumstances, like I was kind of talking about it last night with Devin, it wouldn't be unrealistic to see him go to a team that could potentially win, and he could help them if he's on the third pairing for a team that's challenging, becomes a free agent, and then maybe they bring him back, not necessarily. I mean, they could bring him back maybe as a 7th defenseman, as I think Devin alluded to yesterday. But maybe if he retires, he would be an excellent mentor for a lot of the kids that are on that defensive core right now. And so as a coach, a scout, whatever the case might be, some kind of defined position for him. But I think he'll find his way back to Montreal if he leaves.
Yeah. So I'm finding that some people might be coming around to my way of thinking finally around Christian Dvorak, right? So if Evans, so I almost made Coach choke by bringing this up again.
Yeah, sorry about
so that. No, it's okay. I know whenever I bring up Dvorak, it makes you very, very
yes.
yeah. So
it's like Hoffman.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know if it's Hoffman level, but so yeah, like, again, if Evans ends up getting moved, with how Dvorak has performed offensively, right? Like, it's not impossible that Montreal could look at maybe kind of not only not trading him at the deadline, but maybe you extend him for like a year or two. I would be shocked if Dvorak is going to get more than $2 million on the market with his with his record over the last couple of years. So we'll see. I just don't see Dvorak getting a lot in the marketplace. I saw that PLW was and this is something that people have suggested, of packaging Evans and Armia together. I think any team would love the product. One of the top PK duos in the NHL. But what's tricky there is the amount of salary cap, right? Because of what Armia is making. Do you guys know how many salary retention spots Montreal has this year? Do they still have 2, or do they just have 1? I think they have 2.
I think they have 2.
So again?
Yeah. Do you know how many salary retention spots Montreal has?
Only 1 now remaining.
Is it 2?
Yeah, only 1 remaining.
So,
well, yeah. Don't they have both Petrie and Jake Allen still?
Yes. So
and I think they both expire this year, though.
Exactly.
No, I think So you wouldn't be able to do salary retention on both Armia and Evans, so that might restrict the amount of teams that you could package them together with, right? But there's no question, like a team like Dallas would, I think Dallas is somebody that's really interested in Armia, right? But so we'll see. What Dvorak is gonna actually bring back to you right now, I think they're just better off keeping him, like I said, depending on what happens with Evans. Entertap, I've really liked Beck as well too. My only concern with Beck is you don't want him having to take all of the defensive draws if he's going to be in Montreal next year. You don't want him to have to be like your first unit penalty kill. So whether it's Dvorak or somebody else, they're going to need to, if they lose Evans, they're going to have to look at another solution to bring in a more experienced center. Because like we've talked about, guys, in the past, like if you think you're just bringing Kapanen and Beck in next year and Montreal is going to be as good or better defensively, you're wrong. I think they're going to regress. Yeah. So, and I don't think Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon and Jeff Molson are in the mood for regression. I think they're ready to move forward here. So I would be surprised that they roll into next season with 2 kind of like rookie centers in their bottom 6. So we'll see about that. For Savard, guys, same kind of thing as with Dvorak, in my opinion. I think the value that you're getting back, versus what the value that you have if you keep him in the lineup till the end of the year, and like Entertap was saying, potentially sign him as a 7th defenseman for next year. I think that's a no-brainer. I think you keep him around just for that extra, kind of like assistant coach vibe and daddy vibes, that he has in the dressing room. I think you keep him around. I would be surprised that you're getting more than, say, like high end, a 3rd round pick if you're lucky for David Savard. I think so. To me, like we just mentioned, I don't see enough value to trade him. So we'll see, but we'll be interested. Like we can't underplay how important it is not to become the Buffalo Sabres and not just have a whole bunch of kids in the lineup. Like I still think it's important to have, and one player I think, Coach, that's not on your list here. I don't know if it's, like some people are also have Matheson on the list too, right? Is Matheson?
Yeah, it's because I use the UFA, but yes. So we talk about Matheson and maybe Anderson could be on the rumor for the Montreal Canadiens, but yes. It all depends, Marko, I think, for evaluation of the defenseman. I think they learned from last year to plug quickly Kovacevic. I think, in my opinion, for what you talk about, I think it would be better for Montreal wait next year. A little bit more an review of the defenseman on the left side. But yes, I think he's going to be at some point. But I agree with you also. I think it will be agree also about the situation with Dvorak, Armia, and Sabah. So let's go move on if you don't mind, guys. And now I'm going to open the door here, guys. I know, like us, we talk about something. I know your son will be not him. It's not a point, guys, but they are right now on the trade bait and on the market. So let's see what Kent Hughes can do. I think Montreal Canadiens can trade for the veteran player in NHL not to get a pick. So I answered that question for the people in the chat. They asked me. I think at some point, and a veteran NHL player don't have a longevity contract Or maybe a player like Colin White this last year. If ever they trade Armia, they will rack and Jake Haven. Like Marko said, I don't expect Montreal to play the end of the year with Owen Beck, Joshua Roy, and destroy what's going on in Laval Rocket. So I expect Montreal maybe get a veteran on the market, maybe for a sixth, a fifth, or seventh round to finish the year if it's necessary for the Montreal Canadiens. But the big thing I want to mention to you guys is Thompson, the Max Zegras, or do you feel? I know it's a trade deadline. It's rare, but it just happened a couple of weeks ago anyway. You think Montreal Canadiens can try to hit a home run over everything we just talked about and say, you know what? We don't want to have a second round pick. We don't want a third round pick. But maybe we're going to targeting a specific players prospect on the position we're looking for. Is it possible? Is it one player you're thinking there is something you would like to Montreal make a trade for? Or maybe another player is not on the list, but maybe on the trade bait and not expect like I know Marko said, oh, I would like to have Mason McDavid, but I don't think so. He's on the trade bait. Does it make sense to you? Last year we talk, you know what I mean? Like last year we talk about Roger, McCordy, everything on that. So I don't know if you have clear your mind about how you feel about those players, you guys, and also the people in the chat. Are you looking to have a players they would like Montreal get for the trade deadline? And also, do you expect Marko and Artap if he's going to do this or wait during the summer to do it or not at all? So, and Artap, we go the first one on that one, if you don't mind.
Well, I think I've made my opinions very clear.
I was going to say, like, did you help him do this graphic and not putting Dobson
no,
first?
I didn't. Okay. I didn't. I mean, I'm not high on Zegras, so I would not necessarily bring him in unless you got him.
But now the price is lower, so I apologize, guys. Zegras was not there today when I did the show, and then the last couple of hours they made sure that the price is lower. But and I think he has one more year contract. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah,
he's got one more year.
Yeah, I think he's got one more year. Yeah. I mean, Nemec, I love. I think if something could be done, that would be a good fit as well. But the guy I would really love to have, and has shown that he's definitely NHL ready and has proven it with the Islanders, would be Dobson for me. And when you look at the fact that he's 6'4", he's just I think over 200 pounds. He was a former number one pick as well. I think he went somewhere around 12th or 13th in the league that year. And he's produced. He's an established player. He's right-handed, which is yet another rarity in the NHL with defensemen. So if Montreal can do that, I mean, it would totally solidify their right side. It gives some players a bit of an opportunity that are in the pipeline to properly develop and not rush them into the stream right away. And at the same time, you have some excellent work out of Dobson, and you have Lane Hudson as well that can carry the team offensively between the two of them. And he's also very strong defensively. So if they can somehow target Dobson, and I think the Islanders are in a position that they might consider moving him because they're reconsidering letting go perhaps Nelson. There was a lot of rumor about maybe him going to Winnipeg or maybe even Dallas, but they're thinking with the cap going up, maybe they can still retain him. They need somebody that can score goals, and if nothing else, he's been very consistent in doing that with New York over the years. So in signing him to a bigger contract leaves very little space perhaps to go with Dobson, but the ask is going to probably be quite a bit. I don't think they let him. Obviously, they don't let Dobson go to free agency because, I mean, it's bad management if you do that. So they're going to be looking for a trade, and maybe, I don't know, maybe there's something that can be worked out in the 3-team deal here somehow. But that's the guy I would target.
Well, to answer your first question, Coach, like I mentioned it, right? Like with what their strategy is going to be here, so if they're putting if the asking price for Evans and Armia is a second round pick for either of those guys, fine. But I think what they're really looking for is to package their picks, a prospect, and one of those guys to get what they're calling an impact player, a young impact player, somebody that's going to, so a similar. I hesitate to say this because they haven't really worked out well, but a Doc Newhook type of trade where you're getting a younger player that can come in. Now, when we used to be able to say that and people go, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea," but now because Doc and Newhook haven't really worked out yet, people are like, "Ooh, don't bring up those names." But that's kind of the idea, right? So try to go get a young veteran, 23 years old, 24 years old, that can come in. So I think that's really their first priority, like the first thing that they would do. Whether that's a right-handed shot like Dobson or Nemec, Zegras, I won't even qualify. For anybody who keeps bringing up Zegras, it's clear to me that the moment that Montreal drafted Ivan Demidov, any thoughts of having Trevor Zegras traded to Montreal to me disappeared completely. If you're going to trade for Trevor Zegras, then you got to move like Caulfield, or you got to move another players out of your top six, because it's too many players that are be kind of similar, right? Whether you like Zegras or not, I just don't see the fit anymore with Ivan Demidov being in Montreal next year. So Zegras not on the list for me. The idea, like you're right, Coach. I dream about like a player like Mason McTavish. I don't think Anaheim's going to make him available, but that kind of player, that kind of like, whether it's Dalibor Dvorsky in the St. Louis system, like a player that's having a lot of success in the AHL right now, that's going to be ready to hit the NHL soon as a center, that kind of player, that was drafted maybe 2-3 years ago, that's ready to jump into the NHL, that can play center, a left-handed shooter as well, if you're going to pick up a center, and then, right-hand shot to come in. I'm seeing a lot of people talk about what the price would be for Dobson. You have to look at what the, like Entertap, you're mentioning where the Islanders are at in their cycle right now. I think they're looking for young talent up front. That's what they need to get younger up front. And I think I agree. Like, I don't think Lou's going to be super eager to sign Dobson to the money that he's looking for. So he's probably going to look to cut his losses. And what he's going to be looking for is a young, talented forward to come into that group, to come in with Yzerman, because we've talked about it. The Islanders have a very, very bare cupboard. They don't have a lot coming up through their system, so they need to fix that. So does Montreal have assets like that and picks? And absolutely, right? So could they be an ideal trading partner? Yes. However, what are you guys willing to give up for Dobson? Is it Michael Hage? Are you willing to give up Michael Hage? Are you, like, obviously we're not giving up Demidov for him, but who else from the center or from the forwards that you just drafted are you willing to let go? Is it Owen Beck? Are you going to give up Owen Beck and your first for Dobson? Like, they're going to want somebody.
They wouldn't be adverse to maybe getting a first round pick alongside with some players as well. Like, I'm specifically thinking about the Calgary pick that we have. That could be definitely packaged. They'll want a defenseman in return, and that will hurt because we're probably looking at possibly a Mayu, maybe an Engstrom in that exchange as well, and definitely a forward. So is it a Farrell? Is it
no? That's not going to do it. That's not going to do it, right? So to me, I don't know if they're really going to want a defenseman back in their tap. Like, I think they're really going to zero in here on getting a impact, kind of like what Montreal's looking for. They're looking for an impact center. They're going to be looking. I think they're a little less picky. I think they just want an impact forward, scoring forward. So Montreal, we have a good prospect pool, but who are the top skilled forwards that Montreal has? Michael Hage, Demidov, Roy. But can you even put Roy in the same category as those guys? I don't think Roy can be considered.
Right now, the forward Montreal is honestly Michael Hage and Owen Beck are really the top two. And with Oliver Kapanen, I would put him in front of Joshua Roy right now. Yeah. So if you talk about forward defensemen, you have honestly David Rebacker, Logan Mailloux, and
Yeah.
Adam Ekstrom. As the goaltender, you have Fuller, Tobesh, and Kin. So this gives you a little bit more the top 10 of the forward. So to follow both of you, I would say to you, Troy Thompson, it would cost you Michael Edge or Owen Beck. That's one of the two. That would cost you maybe more Logan Mailloux, the right defenseman, and a possible first-round pick, Calgary Flames.
Yeah,
I think
that's about it.
That's not that's Mario will be go there. If I would choose me, I would between Thompson and Nemec, the cost of Nemec would be cheaper, and the New Jersey are looking to add something for the playoff. So the cost will be a little bit different. You can add a Jake Evans, Armia. They can add both of them if they want to get both. Montreal can remaining some money there, and they can afford post, first round pick or a player like we just mentioned early, and that would help Montreal again to get Simon and Nemec. But the key behind that, if it's Montreal, how they evaluate Nemec inside of that. Look on the list of the Scott Wheeler. He is number 16, I believe.
Nemec?
Number 12.
Nemec, you mean?
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So that gives you an idea.
Player. Like, I always like Juracek more than Nemec, but he's a good player.
But here's the point for everybody in the chat, you, Marko, to finish this target player seller right there. We know Montreal at some point going to looking for a second center, number 2. But if you think about who they are, and I can go right here, go to change a little bit here if you don't mind. If they take a right defenseman, right? Is it not better to have a defenseman, a shutdown defenseman at a coolie style, at a player can skate like Lane Hudson? Does it make sense? Like that's fun between both of them. I'm trying to show to both of you, and I think what if you are put a big trade like to get a right defenseman, are you not targeting a defenseman more the shutdown players compared to an offensive players?
It depends on who you're moving, coach. If you're moving Mailloux, then I think you want to get somebody that has a little bit more offense to their game, because I think you have Reinbacher, who's going to be a little bit more stay at home and a little bit more reliable in his own end, I think, than Mailloux, right? But if you're moving Reinbacher, then absolutely you want to replace that kind of guy, right? So if you're moving Mailloux, then I like Dobson, because Dobson is, at the very least, I don't think he would play on the first unit power play over Hudson, but he'd be a really good asset on the second unit power play when Matheson is gone, right? Or maybe he's even more effective than Matheson, you could argue, on a second unit power play. So if you're moving Mailloux, then I think you need to bring back a two-way defenseman that can move the puck and still be responsible. But if you're moving Reinbacher, then I want somebody that's really going to be more of a shutdown defenseman, somebody that eventually is going to be able to play on the right side of Lane Hudson.
Yeah, good example about that. Enough time, want to add something? Are you willing to trade for Nemec?
Yeah, of course. I mean, he was my second choice behind Dobson for sure. The only difference, obviously, being Dobson's been NHL tested and proven. Nemec, yet we have to wait and see. I mean, he's still got a couple years on him. But yeah, I'd be willing if the the price was right. Why not? Why not? I think he addresses many needs on the right side as well.
You know, when you think about Thompson, I apologize to everybody, but he remind me honestly what he was on his peak. He still have about Dougie Hamilton as a defenseman.
He's very tall. People always think that Dobson is very big. So I think he's 6'2". No, but he's not very thick. 6'4".
Yeah, same size like Hamilton.
And 200. Yeah, and over 200 pounds. Like he's a solid.
But he's not very thick. But he's not very.
No, you're right. You're right, coach.
Yeah, but he's not very thick. Like 6'4". and only 200 pounds, like that's kind of wiry, right? So, he's not like he's a tall guy, but he's not that strong for a guy that's
He's
6'4".
solid. He's solid. Like he finishes his checks.
But that's Hamilton, right? Hamilton was not
Yeah.
strong, and Hamilton struggled on the playoff all the time. He's been
But
always.
Hamilton's always been a defensive liability. That's the thing with it. Great offensively, but defensively he's more of a liability. I think Dobson's more well-rounded than a
Yeah,
Hamilton.
I'll give you another example about like Thompson, but better overall is Evan Bouchard. Bouchard has the same kind of side shot. Bouchard is a bit better skater, but not much. And he has also, but he is really not great on defensive side. Thompson is better on defensive side. That would be.
I'd say that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I'd say Bouchard
And
is a little bit
by
more.
far.
He's a little bit more creative than Dobson. Like he's a little bit more
Bouchard,
creative in the offense. Yeah, Bouchard is, I think,
he
is
moved the
more.
puck better. Like transition wise, I would say to you, he moved better. But slap shot wise, I think both of them are really similar about that. But I think overall, it's a prototype of players. The problem behind that is like again, Marko, is it better? I think at some point, Marko, and I feel like it's sad to say that, but at some point you have to figure out who can be a great complementary to Kaden Cooley and Lane Hudson. I think this is what I think they would be the best way to see the Montreal how they go to targeting
Yeah,
the next move
that's good.
about that. So, um,
I'm with
look,
you.
this was a great subject, I think, for what we did over there. I want to talk about Martin St. Louis, but I want to skip this. I'm going to come back a little bit later. Martin St. Louis celebrate his 3 years anniversary behind the bench for Montreal Canadiens. Going to evaluate him about that. But I think the conversation tonight, the subject was, of course, the phone issue. We'll talk about after that subject, but is about to be concerned. Now, I picked some players. I know some will be like, what about that player, that player? But I said, look, at some point we need to to stop and figure out what it could be the right things for the Montreal again. Now, I need to figure out what is this subject about that, and I can't figure out what it is anymore. So let me checking about my. I think it could be on that one. I completely lost that.
I think
one.
I know the three players.
Yeah,
You're looking
of
at.
course we talk about Sakaski. And we talk about Kubidak and Patrick Laine. So you can talk about Sakaski the time I'm going to get there about this. And I think I start with Inartap the last two times. I think we're going to start with you, Marko, about Demidov, about Sakaski.
Yeah. All right. Well, so if the question is, should we be concerned? I think it's fair. I think it's okay to. It's fair to be concerned. Anybody that objectively.
If you don't mind, Marko, I just got it. I will give you a little bit what you look like, the stat before this season. Sure. Last year, 55 game both season, and he has 12 goals, 18 assists, 30 points. Same number the point he has this year. Minus 11, minus 10. He has 20 shots less this year. He has 7 points less on power play. He finished after the 55 game, guys, and he has 53 this year. But I put this together. He has to accomplish 20 more points at the end. But for me, it's less engaged, bad decision making, bad defense coverage, a loose battle more this year compared to last season about that. And if you don't mind, Marko, I'm going to go that way with it. For Mr. Sakaski, this is in 2023. Don't pay too much attention about the number, but the graphic on your right, what is maybe a bit more bigger, and they give him a little bit more what he look like is skating, is shooting, is speed, is skating at distance. But look what he looked like this year. How it is so much smaller. And this is what the reason he's struggling this year compared last season for him. But I'm not done yet, Marko. I'm going to finish with that one over there. I have two more, if you don't mind to do that. The speed of Sakaski last year is on the top. This year at the bottom is at the bottom. And look, all his number at the end of the number are below 50, below 50, below 50 on the percentile. This is not a good stat if you compare. It's about his speed. Focus on the 820, 22 miles per hour. 83 last year is only at 31 this year. And last year, he had 416, 252. Now, understand, it's 82 game versus 55, but still Marko 83 to 31. That show his speed is not there. And finally, you want to talk about his shooting percentage, everything like that. But this last year was at 13.2. This year is 11.3. It's still below this season. So the stat are data or facts was Sikorsky is not the same kind of player this year compared last season about the result of his season. So now it's your turn, Marko. I apologize. I cut you in the middle of what you were talking about, but I'm sure now with number, you're going to give us maybe better an idea about him.
That's very interesting. Like, so now we see why St. Louis at any given opportunity, when he talks about Slafkovsky, he always talks about his skating. He talks about how it starts with his skating, right? So it shows that Montreal's, analytics team is doing a good job. I think Montreal takes a really good approach with their advanced analytics. They don't go overboard with it. They use it as a tool, among other things. And so it's clear, that they're looking at this information. And not only is it obvious, like when you look from an eye test perspective, when you're watching the games, but all the numbers show that he's just not using his feet. Right. So I think, so when you look at the production coach, so you're looking at, okay, so he's pretty much at the same point per game as he was last year, a little down on goals, a little higher. But I think you nailed it, right? Like, it's not just about points. It's really just about how he's playing, right? Last year, in the first half of the year, if you go back and watch our shows, even when he wasn't producing, all of us could see, and we would comment on here, well, at least he's playing the right way, right? He's playing hard. He's coming back. He's killing plays. He's on the right side of the puck. He's doing all the right things. So he's not hurting the team, but that's different this year. This year, I think we all see it. Like, the thing that he does the most is those really, really dangerous cross ice passes that he does through the middle of the ice. I'm sure the coaching staff has told him about it, but I'm not sure why he keeps trying to do that. But it's really, 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 really dangerous most of the time, and usually does not lead to anything very good. So, to me, the thing that I like the most about Slav is that he was giving an honest effort. He was playing the right way, and he was figuring out the offensive side of his game, which he did in the second part of the year last year. So in my opinion, there's no way to look at it other than a step back, because yes, he's got the same points, but he's not playing the way that he should. And I think somebody brought it up in the chat, and I've been thinking about this too. When you listen to Kent Hughes, he gave an interview on Le Processus podcast with Snake Bollard a little while ago. And, it kind of makes you a little bit wonder, like, you think of the case of Guillaume Latendresse. I know it's a different management team, right? But Guillaume Latendresse was a big guy. So they wanted him to be a banger. They wanted him to hit people. They wanted him to do that, like, just be physical. But we know, especially now that we know him, that Poche Bleu, and we've seen him after his career, he's just not that kind of guy. He's not mean. Slav is not a mean guy. So it's just maybe not in his nature. So are they asking him to maybe be something he's not? Because like you heard Kent Hughes talk, and they're talking about, he said, well, we told him that he doesn't have to be like Hughes, right? Well, maybe, like, I get it. Like, Slav, so, like, when you're dealing with a player, you sometimes have to, kind of guide them and try to give them some pointers on how they can improve and what their strengths and their weaknesses are. But you can't turn somebody into something that they're not. You can't change somebody's nature, right? So, like, I think Slav, the reason he's not winning battles along the boards, it's not because he doesn't go in there, and it's not that he's not strong enough or whatever. Lane Hudson wins battles all the time along the boards, guys. That's because he's smart with how he positions his stick. He's smart on how he wins those battles. What I would love is to see Lane Hudson coach Slafkovsky on how to win 50-50 puck battles, because Lane Hudson is amazing at it. Imagine if Slafkovsky had half the strategic ability to win puck battles as Lane Hudson does. He would be unstoppable. He would win like 90% of his puck battles. So with Slav, it's like, it's really frustrating fundamental things. Like when who he reminds me of, especially now that he wears number 20. He reminds me of Richard Zednik sometimes. Remember, he used to have that really short stick, and he always had only one hand on his stick. That's what he reminds me of out there. He's always poking. He's not moving his feet. He's like poking at the puck with one hand. So, guys, these are really bad habits. I'm not sure what happened with him. I agree with you, Coach. I think we talked about it this summer too. Like, there's something weird that happened at the World Championships with him this year. Like
you got to
I remember seeing, I don't know, but like I remember seeing interviews with him and even his behavior on the ice for Team Slovakia. Remember, like he had that thing with Shane Pinto. He was kind of like trying to be like a pest and all that. Like, I don't know what happened to his mindset, but I've definitely seen a big difference in how he has comported himself. I don't doubt for a minute that I'm not saying that he's a bad apple, so I don't want anybody to interpret
not
that.
at all. Not at all.
So I think Montreal still has a lot of faith in him, and I think he's a good kid, and I think that he very much cares about becoming better. So I don't doubt that for a second. But somebody needs to kind of get through to him, and we also have to make sure that we're molding him and encouraging him to be what he can be, not what we want him to be. Because again, I really strongly feel that you can't turn somebody into Sam Bennett. Either you're nasty and mean guy or you're not. You can't fake that. So I would rather them focus on Slafkovsky. Okay, yes, we need you to win your puck battles and all that, but I don't call. I've mentioned this a couple times. I'm trying to get, maybe I'll get a copyright on this, but I don't think Slafkovsky is a power forward. I call him a power playmaker. So a power forward is somebody that is, somebody that mostly score goals by driving to the net. What I see Slav being is somebody that's going to use his body to win battles and create plays for his teammates, like really creative give and go plays with his teammates down low in the zone. That's to me what his superpower is, and I've been saying that from the beginning. So lots there. So long story short, Coach, definitely I'm concerned. Not like on with the person, but definitely concerned with what I'm seeing so far. But I do have faith in the Habs management team, and I have faith in him that he cares enough to continue to get better. And I do believe in his talent overall.
And I want to add something before we move on to the next player. You want to talk more about the next player?
I have a lot to add to it, the coach. If you want to move on to the next topic, because for me, I don't see the same kind of concern. Like I do see some areas where I agree, Marko. He does have bad habits, and I think those are all correctable things with the proper type of coaching. We saw it the first year he came into the league. He was even being pushed off the puck. He looked like a deer in headlights. They kind of corrected that over the summer, and he had a half decent year last year and got the points that he got, especially in the second half. And I mean, point wise, it's not a concern, but I do agree that there's some bad habits that he's engaged in, and I think part of it comes from. And again, it's not an excuse, but it's just a fact. This kid he's the youngest kid on the team. And I know that's not, again, it's not an excuse, but I'm trying to make you understand that at his size, things have come easy for him as he's moved up from being small. Like he's always been the biggest kid. So when you see him with one hand on the stick, it's because he could have got away with it when he was younger in leagues that were not as demanding. In the NHL, you can't do that. But those are things that you need to correct. I wouldn't say he's not a power forward. I mean, with his size, he's shown sometimes. He pushes people off the puck. Last year, we saw him even drop his gloves a couple times. Like he's not afraid to get nasty when he has to, and he's not afraid to go in front of the net and drive to the net. But he doesn't do it consistently, and that's where I have the biggest concern. But these are things that you can correct with the proper coaching. So I say,
I don't know, man.
give the guys. I say you got to give them some time. Right? If this in a 2-year span it still persists, then I'm seriously concerned. But if we see improvement, then I think it's being addressed by the coaching staff.
One thing before we move off, I know, Coach, we went a lot on Slafkovsky here. Another interesting piece from that interview with Kent Hughes from the Processus is when he revealed that in the second part of last year, when he took off and was more productive, Kent Hughes told us that they did very little coaching with him. Very, very little coaching. They just basically let him play in the second part of the year because they felt that they were getting into his head too much, right? They said, so I was kind of surprised to hear that. Maybe they're still showing him some things, but maybe I don't know if they decided to kind of step up the coaching a little bit more with him this year, and maybe that's because, and I've said this before, you can say the same thing about Doc, Laine, and Slav, which I know we're all going to be talking about. It looks like they're lazy on the ice, but it's not because they're lazy people, guys. It's because they're confused. They're paralyzed. Let's just imagine you're at your own job, okay? And you're let's say your job is to, I don't know, assemble a computer, or whatever. You're on an assembly line or whatever. Now you're used to doing your job a certain way. Now let's say your boss comes in and he basically trains you on 20 new things that you need to do your part of your job, right? So, but if you're confused, you're going to be slow. You're going to be hesitant. You're not going to know what you're doing. So to somebody who doesn't know that you've just been trained on 20 new things, you're going to look lazy, you're not doing anything. But they don't know that you have all this new information in your brain that you're trying to process and you're confused as hell, right? So when it comes to Laine and when it comes to Doc and when it comes to Slafkovsky, it's to me, it's either that they are a little bit confused or they lack confidence. It's not that they're lazy people. It's not that they don't care. It's not that they don't want to do. It's that they're paralyzed. They're in that situation. You're not going off instincts because you're overthinking stuff. That, to me, I'm convinced that's a huge part of what we're seeing with all of these three guys.
Yeah, I think you have to really simplify his game. We did it last year with Anderson when he was having a bad year. We said, "Hey, here's one task to do.
Yeah,
just go out and do this and do it well." And I think that's where you have to start with Slafkovsky as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Welcome. We have a lot of people knock the door. Thanks, everybody. Don't forget, please, to click on the like. We appreciate all of you. Don't forget, tomorrow night we'll be back at 8 o'clock. Game number 1 of the Four Nation. The Team Canada owes the Team Sweden. So all of you, please join us talking about the game. It will be the first of the 3 game preliminary for the Team Canada. We thank all of you. Don't forget, we missed a couple to reach the total of 40. So great with you. Great comments about Sarkowski, both of you. I would say to you one thing. I would try to modify what he said. And after, I don't believe you're 20 years old. When you repeat the same mistake, it's not because of the age. It's because of the bad habits, and you don't pay too much attention what's going around him. So how many times he run the puck at the blue line, drop the puck there, turn around, score a goal. Yesterday or 2 days ago, he scored the puck in front of the net, a turnover. He have a puck saved by Montembeault. He take the puck, give again the stuff. I can go all the way like that. So for me, it's about work ethic. It's about habits, and you can tell after the game, I need to become better. I need to become better. I need to change this. I need to change this. It's not count anymore for me. After 2 years with the Montreal Canadiens, you have to prove it on the ice. Whenever you're 20 years old, 26 years old, you have to prove it. If you repeat the same mistake, you're going to repeat constantly the same mistake year after year, year after year. I think for me, the expectation of what Sakasi should be in the NHL may be too high for what he's going to be. Honestly, right now, I see him more as a second line player. That's the reality behind that.
Yeah, possibly. I don't disagree with that. But when I bring up age, it's I think you have to look at it from the perspective, was he making these kind of mistakes last year? Well, and if he was, and they're continuing and he hasn't improved upon them, then it becomes a concern. So then it's not so much about the player, but it's about the coaching. Somebody needs to get through with him to say, this is exactly what I want you to focus on. Look, you made this pass up the middle
after the game
over and over and over.
And after the game, we get the clips. The next day, he had the clip. He get the clips. He get the clip for the video coach right away over there. And then you connect with, listen, they were going to invest, Marko and Artap, on Caulfield, Suzuki, Coley, Hudson, Sakaski, hours and hours to tell them what they need to become better, better, and better.
But that's what we're saying, right? Is so, and maybe Entertop is better positioned because he works in the education field than I am, right? But essentially, what I think we're trying to say, Coach, is yes, we know that they are giving him coaching, and I'm sure yes, they are giving him the video, but he's proven that he can do all those small things well. That's what he was doing well last year. So what's changed? It's not his attitude. Like we all agree, he's a good kid and wants to do well.
Not about the attitude.
So if it's not his attitude and it's not that, it's, and we've heard Kent Hughes say it last year, they did less coaching with him and it seemed to work better. So I'm not saying that you need to do less coaching, but Entertime, maybe you can tell us without having a whole seminar here on learning styles and how different people are, but like you acknowledge, right? People learn differently. People need, like, you can't teach everybody the same way, the same thing, and expect that they're all going to react the same way, right?
Right, exactly. Like everybody has a different learning style, and the onus is upon you as an educator to try to adhere to their different types of learning styles. So if I see that this individual is learning from repetition, then that's what I emphasize. If this one is learning from the fact that maybe I do something a little bit more concrete, then I proceed with that. It's, you have to get through to the individual until it clicks in place. And sometimes some learn very quickly and they need to be told only once. Others, it's repetition over and over and over, and seeing what mistakes that they're making, and then you correct it as you go along. But if it continues to persist, I think it's a concern. I absolutely agree with that, Coach. But
yeah,
I think
blame this missing a tap on the cheese again. You have a good friend now.
Yeah, that could be part of it. You never know.
It's not impossible. It's not impossible.
If he's parting on a nightly basis and not dedicated to being a better player, then that's an issue. But
I wish I could coach me. I always coaching guys like triple A, double A. The kid was missing the same mistake 2 times, 3 times. It's like, you ever see some spot at the end of the bench over there? Can you go over there for a couple of minutes and then come back later? So I will not afraid to pinch them. Me, I was not very good anyway. Could be that percent off tap. 56 game, 10 goal, 12 assists, 22 point, minus 29. It's cold in that area. 40.6 percentage face off, 7 power play point. Not a center, a right winger. But what is next now? And I'm going to talk a little bit with you, Mr. Natat, first of all, with Kirby Dak, and then the people in the chat. But he's a part of Montreal Canadiens. And when I say next for me, it's about what your expectations Montreal are going to do with Kirby Dak next season. And what it will be his role or your future you see Kirby Dak with the Montreal Canadiens. So we're going to go there for a couple of more minutes about that. And then we're going to move on for 4 Nations after that.
I think Marko's mentioned it numerous times in past episodes that this year was an entire evaluation year for Doc. Yes, when they made the trade, it was with the intention that he became our 2C, and they've opportunity this year to perform at that level. He hasn't. Personally, I don't see. And again, this is just me based on what I'm watching and seeing him perform at. I don't as necessarily the hockey IQ to be as diversified as a centerman needs to be. I think he will be an effective right winger if you put him in that position. He has less responsibilities. He doesn't have to worry about face-offs as much as he does as a centerman, so that becomes less of an issue. He does use his body. So that part is there. He's got a good shot when he has the opportunity, and I think for the most part, he tries to drive to the net, and he can set up other players. I don't think it's a huge issue, but he needs to be on the right side as far as I'm concerned, and I think that question has sort of been answered.
Yeah, it's certainly trending that way, right? Like it's, again, I think they're going to use the rest of the year to kind of continue on with the experiment. And, in addition to evaluating, Doc and whether he's a center, he's also under evaluation. So what kind of young leader is he going to be on this team? Don't forget, guys, like Kent Hughes had that discussion with him the summer before he got injured, saying, "Hey, we really want you to come in and like use your experience of what it was like being a young player with Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane, and use that experience. And we want you to be a leader on this team, right?" So I'm sure they're evaluating him, as these important games that Montreal is playing. Where was Kirby Dach in the last 8 games that they've went 1-7, right? Like, he had a good run when things are going well, but you need your young, leaders to be part of like leading the team when things aren't going well. And so, unfortunately, we didn't see too much of that from Kirby Dach. Like, you can't say like, Montreal's been losing recently because of Kirby Dach. I think there's a lot of people on that list, but if you're going to treat him, yeah, a lot. So if you're going to though say like, Kirby Dach is going to be a cornerstone leader, centerpiece of this team, it was an interesting test to see how he responded when Montreal, kind of was playing some really meaningful games in the last couple weeks here. But in terms of like, I'm just going to not even pay attention to the points and the plus minus record, because I think, a lot of that was in October when things were just insanely bad, and it did take him a while to get going. I think we've all seen that there's been some improvement in his play. Like, I think we've seen a closer version of Doc of what we expected since, say, like I would say December, like mid-December, definitely starting to look more like himself. But I'm more and more convinced that, Coach, so if your question is, where do I think he fits in the lineup? I think the next opportunity for him is top 6 right wing, maybe after Laine is not there. But with Laine there, like, they're basically going to battle for that. I think that second line right winger spot. We'll see how that plays out, because hopefully next year Montreal gets a new second line center. Then you've got Demidov on that line, and then it's either going to be Laine or Doc that's going to play right wing. That's how I kind of see it playing out. So, it'll be an interesting battle. And, maybe it's not even just like, a battle. It's like, who fits better? Like, maybe it's just a chemistry thing, so we'll see how that plays out. But I definitely, at the very least, I see him being a great fit as a right winger in your top 9, most like, and you hope in your top 6. So the more I see him though, the more that I think that his style of play, like Top was saying, I don't think it's a hockey IQ thing. I think it's more of a skating thing. And also, like when he was really good before he got hurt. And I think we talked about this last week, Coach. Like, I think people forget how good Kirby Dach was at board battles. Like, his takeaway numbers were off the charts. If you would go into the corner with you, he was winning and like retrieving so many of those pucks. So guess what? When you're playing center, you have less opportunity to go along the boards and chip pucks out and battle for that, right? Like, when you're a center, it's a lot of skating around, right? Like, you're skating all the way to the bottom of the defensive zone. You're scanning. You're going to support your defenseman. It's less being along the boards, and a lot of like with being a center, it's more like continuous skating. So I think both his skating and his style of play suit the wing more. I think he has good vision, but it takes more than just good vision to be a center. And then we haven't even talked about the face-offs. So to me, I'm sure they're going to play it out for the rest of the year, and maybe he'll show us something that he hasn't yet. But it's certainly trending that he's more of a winger at this stage.
Great point about that. And slowly, Marko and in our tap, Luke take the spot, the center more and more now. And
yeah, you got me in the chat.
About
you
that.
got me in the chat. Yeah, you got me in the chat the other night there, Coach. Like, you don't see it all the time with Newhook, but once in a while you'll see Newhook do those entry zones where he finds time and space at the top of the zone. Reminds me like of, kind of like a Mike Ribeiro kind of thing, where you can kind of like come in, find open space, wait till somebody opens up. So Newhook still, I find he panics a little too much with the puck on his stick. Sometimes like it's like a grenade on his stick when he has it, but you see glimpses of that with Newhook where, like, we know his skating is amazing, but if he's going to be a center, if he can find more times where he's able to find that time and space in those zone entries, maybe. I was a hard no. Now I'm like, maybe. I'm not convinced yet, though, on Newhook for center yet.
I think Marko is sometimes with Martin. So we said, sometimes you better to slow down and become faster. I think that's something a code for Josh Anderson. And I think one player does this very well is Dimitrov. Dimitrov sometimes he is a fast skater, right? He come in entrance zone. Sometimes Marko, we have two decisions. We said the player when you go inside of the zone, right, 2-3 feet, but not go straight. Go the left, go the right, go on the blue line to wait to bring someone with you. Or if you go on the board, cut back up after that and wait for your player. Protect the puck and go back on the side so you can have the older players come in, join the rush, and go back there. But that's Newhook's situation need to do. I think sometimes he just forget the puck. He's trying to go around, and that's more difficult about that. So I agree with you on that comment. So you got that. Could be that guy is the right winger, in my opinion. And he's going to have one more year, evaluate next year what he look like, everything like that. But again, I agree with you about the fact like he needs to become more a forward checker. He has the body for that. I think for me, he could be a 50-point. I feel bad because I think he has all the assets to be a Vincent Trocheck at some point. Not a 76 point, not a 60 point, a 50 point. A little bit more on that level for the second line.
Maybe like an Alex. Like what would be nice for him, like enough? Alex. If he could be an Alex Tuck kind of player.
Yeah, that's a good point about that. He has a great range, right? So when you use his range, the guy can go have some move also. So we'll see. Yeah. But again, many injuries for the last couple of years. Hopefully, it will be a little bit more, a little bit better. At the end of the day, guys, is if he can go through the season with 75 game, 80 game, that would be already something good for him to go through that kind of. The injury about that guy have Patrick Laine go to skip him. We have too many things to talk about. It's 10:30 and 30 minutes. So Marko want to go at 10:30. So we asked that. So I want to move on with other things. And I want to talk about, guys, the Four Nations tonight because the tournament starts tomorrow at the Four Nations. My question today, or my question, the poll of the day is about who's going to win. But for me, it's not about only this today. I want to talk a little bit more, Marko, and after the deeper of the roster for each team, and a little bit more what your expectation on who is the better offensive, defensive, the odds for the tournament, who could be the MVP. So go a little bit more deeper for the next 15 minutes, and then after that, we'll go to the clash at the end, and then where other subjects going to finish before 10:30. So all the people in the chat, you can give us a bit more. Some of you are not excited about the Four Nations, but I guarantee you, for all of you tonight, you're in the chat, Four Nations, not big deal. Remind me Saturday night at 8 p.m. when Canada is going to be USA. And check the game and tell me this is exactly the All-Star game. You go say, Coach was right on that one for sure. Because it also will be there, guys. You go see players going to defend their country to play that. And more the tournaments go higher, I expect the harder the intensity for all the teams. So first of all, Marko and Artap, this is the roster for both teams, the Finland and the Canada. And you can see Finland, guys, Ao, Armia, Barkov, Granlund, Ola, Hans, Kako, Laine, Lekonen, Lundell, Listerinen, Ratanen, and Teravainen. Not a bad forward, honestly. The top 9 is very solid. On the defenseman, that's looking not great. Uri Carew for Buffalo, Lindell, Mata, Mikola, Martin Palo took the spot of
Heiskanen.
There you go.
Heiskanen.
We have Vekkanen and we have Veli-Maki. The goaltender guys pretty good. Saro, Lukanen, and then Kenan. So problem for Finland is honestly defenseman. Going to go back with a little bit later about Finland. Canada, Bennett, Cirelli, Crosby, Brendan Angels, Jarvis, Konechny, McKinnon, Marchand, Monard, McDavid, Point, Reynard, and Stone. This is powerful, honestly. Defenseman, now Pietrangeau is out, Marko. And in after Dowdy, Makar, Maurici, Parenko, Saham, Theodore, Taze, Golender, off. Mr. Artap, are you free for the next 2 weeks? We want to come back as a goalie. If you want to in Artap, let me know.
I've retired.
Okay, I apologize for that. By the way, Marko, he played with Gumbo Worsley at the circle at the school, the high school.
Yeah, I
But
have
he
like
was
a.
in
It
Toronto.
looks
Yeah,
like
yeah.
A
playing with
number of
no
years.
playing with no helmet had zero impact on his intelligence, though I can tell.
Yeah, exactly. Bennington, Hill, and Montembeau. I'm going to finish with the two other teams, Sweden and the USA, guys. Be ready for USA. Boldy, Connor, Jack Eichel, Gwanzel, Hughes, Grader, Larkin, Matthews, Miller, Nelson, Kachuk, Trocheck. Defenseman, Faber, Fox, Anifen, McEnroy, Sanderson, Slavin, Wawrinski, Edebach, Ottinger, Swimmen. All three could be starter for any other countries this weekend. For the
The good
Swimmen
news is they
guys,
can only play.
yeah,
The good news is
exactly.
they can
One at
only
a
play
time.
one of them at a time.
Yeah,
Exactly. Addison,
exactly.
Pratt, Carlson, Erickson, Aki, Forsberg, Kemp, Lingholm, Nylander, Nickwish, Pedersen, Raymond, Raquel, Zibanejad, defenseman, Anderson, Brody, Dallin, Ekholm, Forslane, Edmund, and Carlson, Erson, Gustafsson, and the goaltender Ulmark. When you look about Sweden, I would say to you, it's maybe one of the teams the most balanced, in my opinion, on all positions. Because the defensemen are not bad. They are good skater, but they're also good defensemen, like Forsling and Edmund and Ekholm. I think this is solid there. But when you see all the information here for with just a roster, I know it's not easy, but I would like to hear from you guys how you feel about the team offense. Canada, USA, Sweden, Finland. You can ranking them if you want to in our tap. Uh, this is my ranking there, but what do you feel about that, Mr. Antal, the team offense for each country?
That's a. I mean, it's. I wouldn't disagree with that too much. I mean, it's going to be very difficult to really differentiate when it comes to the offenses with these guys. Like Canada definitely has, you know, they're probably the strongest up the middle, I would say, with even a couple of wingers that could play in the middle, like a McKinnon, obviously could take that role on. But I mean, USA is very strong as well. I would probably agree with that order, Coach. I think that it seems to fit them all when you look at the roster players that are there and the capability that they bring offensively, right? But keep in mind, it's not uh, just to go a little bit off topic here. It's not just about being able to score or picking out the top 12 forwards that are available. It's about having the right role players in place, and that has to be taken into consideration as well. But they have players. They have players that can score at any time, and all four of their lines can put in goals to varying degrees. So I would put Canada first and USA second there, followed by Sweden and Finland. I agree with that.
Yeah, I think it's hard to disagree with with this order, Coach. Like, but there's not a huge gap, right, between Canada and the USA. Like, they're right there. Like, I think you give the edge to Canada just because they have two of the five best players in the world on their team, at least. So just having
More.
McDavid and yeah, well, we're talking only about forwards, right? Like, so you have Makar that's arguably in the top five players in the world right now too. Like, depending on who you talk to, but to
Also,
me,
Quan Yu is not there for Team USA and after Marco.
yeah, we're talking about team offense. We haven't got to defense yet, but so if we're just looking at the
But I'm
forwards,
talking one
right?
team offense, not because you talk about McCall like he's
Oh,
always
okay, so
like the
okay,
the
okay,
offense
I see
about
what you mean.
that part, but the defense coming the next
Right.
one after that.
Okay, yeah. So, like, if you just look at the forwards, anyways, it's not a huge gap between Canada and the USA, but I give a slight edge to Canada. And I'm not sure if we're going to cover other things other than that, but the big difference between the Canada and the US lineup is Stanley Cup rings, right? Like, and just overall experience winning, right? Like, there's not many teams
Yeah,
or not many players on the US that have the winning pedigree that Canada has. Like,
right. They
at the
have
Olympics
15,
and
15 out of the 23 players, Marco, have
have won
have
a
held
cup.
the cup. Yeah,
Yeah. So
and
to me, like,
they're also the most decorated team in terms of other
yeah,
awards that they've received.
yeah. So listen, like, it's a little, but again, like, sometimes does that mean that Team USA is hungrier to prove that they can kind of like beat those guys. Like, so again, it's hard to, we'll see how it plays out. Just so it's impossible for me not to mention this, Coach, if we're talking about Canada, US. In my opinion, I don't like, I'm hoping it's this big. Maybe I'm just trying to hype it so that it makes it more interesting for me to watch. But can you think of a more interesting time to have an international game between two countries? I would argue when Canada plays the US, could it be the most like interesting game, not just for hockey purposes, but for political purposes and for cultural purposes since the 72 summit, right? Because we know in 72, there was, like communism versus democracy. Now, I know it's not what's happening right now with tariffs, and I don't want to get political, right? But everything that's happening, between Canada and the US right now, don't tell me there's an extra layer of stuff happening at that game, right? So it just, I would be interesting to be in the stands to see if there's going to be American fans that travel to Montreal, what the atmosphere is going to be in the game. Same thing if they play in the final in Boston. So I don't know, guys. Do you think it could be one of the more intense international rivalries or important games from a historical perspective? From that sense,
I think it'll be intense because I think the two countries are pretty much at par in terms of their talent level and where they come. Like, it's not Canada exceeds all other countries now by a long shot. There's a lot more parity, and all four of these teams here are like that. I don't think it'll be I don't think the politics really will influence this. Like, what's going on is more about. I think it's more about the political leaders. It has nothing to do with the players themselves.
You don't think the players? You don't think the players on Canada feel pressure to beat the United States with everything going on in Intertap? I don't know, man.
I think,
and to what avail? To what avail?
I'm going to add something I think you didn't mention about that, Marko, in our tap. I think the last 3 years, the performance of the Team Canada at the junior is not good.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, the pressure of Team Canada right now to represent the best country hockey for many years, right? Is one thing I think they don't talk enough, and I think they want to have a good tournament to prove again they're still the number one over there. So I understand you all the people there, but I think behind the scenes, this is something they have to figure out that because they are getting catch up by other countries right now. So imagine if Canada guys get out with 0-3 at that tournament again. Right?
That's not going to be an easy game, that first game against Sweden, guys. Like,
and then remember, Marko, in our tab, this is like a one game. This is not like a long. If you go to the tournament at the World Championship, right, you have 7 games in front of you. You can sing 1 or 2 games. This is like you lose 1 game, you're in trouble almost.
Yeah, pretty much. You might not make it to the final, right? Just by losing 1 game. So they have to be careful. They can't. Obviously, they're not going to take anybody lightly. They have to come out of the gate quickly, which explains also the construction of the teams, right? A lot of them are going in as on each line. They're pairs that play together.
Built-in chemistry, right?
And
exactly about this, Marko. About that. So I just want to share with you a little bit more. The team offense now. USA, Sweden, Canada, Finland. This is my selection about that. And I would like to hear from all of you for that. So I don't know who started the first one. If you want to start, Marko, you said no. So let's go.
Yeah. So this one, I think I might disagree with your ranking, Coach. So if we're like, I know if we're talking about team defense,
Yeah. So now when I do that, I apologize. I have to add one more thing. I put the goalies inside of the team defense.
Okay.
Oh, you did.
Okay. Because the goalie, honestly, if I put just only one section goalie, we know exactly what's going to happen. So I put the goalie with the defense about that. So I want to bring that as maybe changing your point of view, but I can understand you.
Yeah. I think so, Coach, even with that definition in mind, I would put Sweden first in terms of overall team defense over So I'll do my order. So I think Sweden has the best decor in the whole tournament, in my opinion. Like that's like look at that decor that they have, guys. Like you have Forsling on your bottom pair potentially.
They are well
With
balanced, man, Marco. They are well
yeah,
balanced
not just
about
well
that.
balanced, but like elite. Like okay, Canada has Makar, but other than Makar, I think any of like here's a good question: which of Team Sweden's defensemen would you take over Team Canada's defense? And if you look at the side by side analysis, if you're being objective, a lot of them would go over what you have in Canada right now, other than Makar, in my opinion. So that's just the defense core. That's just the defense core. But Team Sweden, like they have a lot of good two-way responsible players as well, too, right? So and then their goaltending, I think, is going to be solid. So to me, I would put team defense. I would put Sweden first. USA's defense is good, but I find them kind of smallish compared to some of the other decors. But their goaltending is pretty amazing. So I would say Sweden, US, Canada, Finland would be my order because
Yeah,
of the
the
Canadian
reason I put
goaltending.
USA, Marco, is only because of the bug. That's the reason I put
Yeah.
them a little bit over Sweden. But defensive only. Defensemen,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, we are not disagree. We just feel the same way about
Yeah.
that. So,
But thing with Hellebuck, coach, is he a big? So that's a lot of pressure for Hellebuck too, right? Not really the reputation for being a big money goalie. Interesting kind of prelude for Winnipeg Jets fans. Is he going to step up in a big game? We'll see. He hasn't done it yet.
And if he does, it'll go far for Winnipeg.
His confidence for the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
In our top, agree, disagree.
Yeah. Very close. I mean, I would probably agree with Marco. I would put Sweden first. I would have put USA second, but I mean, not having Quinn Hughes is a huge loss for them. And as Marco said, it's not only a little bit the size that I worry about with the USA. It's also the youth. I mean, guys like Faber and Sanderson, very young, first time experience at the international level. So you don't know exactly how they'll react to that. I think Team Canada maybe brings a little bit more of the experience. Like guys like Doughty have been there before. Makar, I think Morrissey is solid. Theodore is solid. So I'll probably put Canada second, USA third, and then Finland. Unfortunately, they've been decimated with injuries, and
it's really too bad.
Their defensive core does not look good. Yeah,
it's really too bad because Finland, I think, like without those injuries, I think would have been very interesting. I think I really love the way that Finland plays in every tournament. It's just too bad, that they lost out on those guys. But one thing about the U.S. defense too that I didn't mention is the physicality. Where's the nasty in this lineup? Like, who's going to contain Canada down low for the U.S.? Like McAvoy can play a little bit defensive, like can be a little bit physical, can play nasty, but it's not really in his nature that much, right? While you have Parayko, say for Canada, so I like Ken. Yeah, Doughty for sure can play nasty. Like, just look at his teeth. That'll tell you the whole story, right? So yeah, it's going to be interesting, but it's too bad about Finland. Like, I really like the way.
Here we go. My prediction, and I want to hear from you. USA versus Canada at the end. Sweden are finishing with 1 and 2. Finland finished with 0-3. About that, sorry, AK. Don't be mad at me. AK. And Nicholas, it's okay. Well, Yamo is asleep right now, so yes, Yamo, Finland's going to lose 2-0 game this week. But what are your expectations? I did not give you my winner, by the way. I wait for you, and then I'm going to give you my winner. About that, yes, I said that Finland yesterday because nobody picked them, so I feel bad for them. But honestly, Mr. Marko, what it looked like your prediction?
Yeah, that's a tough one, right? Like it's so hard to predict. Like, but like Canada has so many proven winners, right? But like I said, I think USA has like a certain, they have kind of like a little bit of a little bit of a cockiness to them and a little bit of a strut to them right now, right? Like with everything that's happening. So I'm actually going to predict Sweden versus USA in the final. For unfortunately, that's, I know I'm probably not going to be super popular for saying that, but yeah, I suspect that Canada. I think they'll probably win 2 out of the 3 games, but they're going to lose. I don't know how the format works, right? But I
The
don't know. Like
format,
so yeah,
the
like it
format,
depends.
Marco,
Yeah,
they get 3 points if it's a regular
yeah,
game
yeah,
victory,
yeah.
and they get 2 points if it's an overtime or shootout victory. One
Three
point
to
if it's an
one.
overtime.
3-1.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then
It's hard to,
the other significant thing is also if they do go to overtime, it's 10 minutes rather than 5 like the NHL, and it's 3-on-3.
yeah,
Except for the championship game, which will be NHL rules. First goal
yeah,
wins.
yeah. So I understand like the rules, but I don't like. So let's say if Canada loses against the US, then who, like, do they play? So as soon as you lose, you're out. Is that like if
Not
like I guess
necessary.
No,
Not necessary.
no.
Because you can have
okay,
2-1, 2-1, 2-1. You
okay.
can have 2-1, 1-1,
Yeah,
1.
what I don't know is, Coach, what's the tiebreaker in case you do
Yeah,
get, let's say, Sweden and Canada tied for second?
Well, first will be the
Is it
head to
head to
head.
head?
Head to head first. Then after
Well,
that would be
yeah,
the goal differential.
right.
right.
Okay.
Right? So
Yeah,
So
yeah. I don't know, guys. Like I find I'm so bad at predictions. I don't know. Like I really, Canada, like on paper, Canada's the favorite. I'll say that. Canada, in my opinion, is the favorite to win. But I have a feeling about the US. Like there's just kind of like a little bit of
the
something
Johnny
happening.
Goodrow, the
Johnny
Johnny
Grugo's dad.
Goodrow
Yeah, yeah, that's a
about that.
thing.
Now, Marco and Arthur will say to you, a short tournament like that, and for the people that share a team, everybody will agree, right? It takes only
just
one player
10
to be
seconds.
hot. Like it takes only one to play full game. And he play his best. Like a goalie, guys, would be like crazy at that tournament.
Yeah,
And whatever Canada, maybe on paper are better to Finland, but that night Zaros was unbelievable. And I think this will be. It's hard to predict that tournament honestly
yeah,
because
yeah,
of that.
yeah.
And after,
It's such a short tournament for sure.
yep,
Yeah, it's a. I mean, I don't like the setup of this particular tournament. Obviously, you have to be at the top of your game for every single game, and you can't afford maybe a goalie that has a night off. That would totally decimate a team in terms of their direction and where they're going. So I don't like that. I think it would have been to Canada's advantage if at least you had a round robin tournament, and then you go 1 against 4, 2 against 3, and then in the finals it's the best of 3. I think that
Yeah,
Canada would prevail. Uh,
yeah. The
yeah,
best
this
of three
this
would
is
be
tough.
cool
Yeah,
for the
this is
final.
tough because it's so contingent on bringing it every single night, and they're gonna have to. I think that that's where the advantage for Canada may be. I agree, Marco, that there is that certain je ne sais quoi about the about the USA, but I think that Canada also brings more experience to the table, and they're proven winners, and I think that that might be the difference.
Yeah, and yeah, like you have to talk about the goaltending too. Like my twin soul brother PLW. It seems like, so. By the way, PLW is like, we used to disagree and debate, but it's weird. Like we're starting to agree more and more every day. It's weird, but yeah, like the goaltending in is obviously an issue for Canada. But look at the year Carey Price won the gold medal. He wasn't a huge factor, right? Like Canada just locked things down completely, and he didn't have to do very much. Obviously, he had to make a couple of key saves, right? But you just hope, like, I guess an interesting question. I'll put this to you guys, Coach, if you don't mind. I'll ask you guys a question. But what style of play do you think Canada needs to play in order to win because of the goaltending? Like, do you think, like, how do you think their style of play? Like, we know John Cooper is coaching the team, so how do you expect? Like, what's their game plan going to be against the U.S.?
Jean Perron said this. We just need to score one more goal to other team to win the game.
Yeah, I guess you can't go wrong with that.
But Marko is a good question, by the way. But I think they have to go offense. I think those they cannot say like 2-1 or try to go down. They have to go like 5, 6, 7 goals. A little bit at the Colorado side. Are you agree with me?
Yeah. I mean, they're going to have to do a lot of puck hounding. Like, they're going to dump the puck and play a heavy game, especially if you're going against the U.S. You have to take advantage of the fact that they're not the tallest defenders and get them to work and make mistakes in their own zone.
But Marko, this is why this tournament is so good, in my opinion. This is why I feel good about that tournament. It'd be fun to watch every night to those games, every time like that. Whatever is Sweden and Finland. And Finland guys, those kind of tournament or international tournament, Finland is a work ethic team. Is a details. It's like don't give up on Finland because the defenseman is not there. The Finland going to shut you down. They're going to create a system 1-1-3. They're going to hurt you. And what is a short tournament like that? Be careful, guys. Yeah. Finland could hurt you over there. So
that's
prediction is a little bit hard to go that direction right there, right? But I think it'll be fun. Yeah. I think I'm excited about that tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. Finland, they're gonna clog everything up. They're gonna play a very systematic approach to the game, and they're gonna wait for their opportunities. And they've got the players to capitalize up front. So if they get that 1 or 2 chance and you're not scoring, you could be in trouble.
And the big X factor there is
we'll see what happened about
Mario
that, guys.
Armia. Mario Armia.
Sorry to cut you, Marko. One more question. I told Marko you want to go, but I want to do a clash after that. So I don't know if you want to stay with that.
Okay. Yeah, it's okay.
So let's go clash. But I want to finish one more question. The time I go to clash, the MVP of tournament, 1 players only in our top.
For overall, good one. I'm gonna go with McKinnon.
McKinnon, interesting. Marko, not a bad choice, by the way.
I'm gonna say Werenski.
We have a defenseman. We have a forward. If I have to go with that goalie, I would be crazy. Said Bennington in our top, so I'm not going to take a Bennington. He screwed me 2 years ago. I'm not going to go with Bennington for sure about that. It's worry about. This is a really tough one.
You're thinking Hellebuck. I could see it.
I know it's Hellebuck on my head, but Kenny, the producer, about that. I would Connor Hellebuck. Yeah, Connor Hellebuck will be my MVP.
So note that 2 out of the 3 of us chose a U.S. player.
Yeah, I'll give you an idea. Here we go. The clash. Absolutely or Coach, not allowed.
You're going to give us, Coach. You didn't give us your prediction of who you thought was going to win.
It's a USC.
Okay, all right. I just want to get you on the record.
Well, you want a little bit more? 5-4 on overtime.
All right.
And it's going to be one of the catch-up. It's one of the 2 catch-up. I cannot figure out who they look like at the end of my goal. So I cannot tell you exactly. It's Matthew and the one. So anyhow, Marko. Oh, not this one. Marko, Cooley just important as Suzuki. Absolutely or not at all?
Not at all. I think he's very important. Like I think I've said it before. Like your number 1 center, I think, like it's not like a huge gap or anything. Like, but I've said this before, right? Like I think Gooley's a bit easier to replace. I'm not, and people are going to shit on me for saying this, right? And by the way, I say shit once every show. That's my rule. That's the maximum that I go. People always comment, "Oh my god," he says, but I say it once per show only. So I know I'm going to get in trouble for saying that. I know Gooley is very important, but I think he's a little bit easier to replace than your number one center, in my opinion. But he's still very important.
And after,
yeah, I see what you're saying there, Marco. I don't disagree with it, but right now we're seeing what the absence of Gooley is meaning to Montreal since he went down. So, and you know, his game was really coming around. He was finally on the left side where he belongs, and really doing a great job on the top player from the opposing team. So I'm going to go with absolutely, because he's very difficult, you know, to replace a person or a player, a defender that takes on that role and plays the number of minutes that he does.
all right, I go with absolute on that one. The next one in our top, Primo return in NHL before the end of the season.
I think there's a distinct possibility that he might. You know, I think we're seeing with Dobesh that it would probably service him better if he went down at some point. Again, not because he's played horrible. I know he's had a couple of games where he hasn't looked as solid as before, but you also don't want to destroy his confidence, right? And maybe going back down and giving Primo that opportunity to show up. Yeah, I would say absolutely.
Marco?
I don't know. It's not impossible, but I'll say not at all. Like, seems to be working super well. What's happening right now for him in the NHL? Like, undefeated. Just let him cook down there. We'll see, but you know, right now, like I think they like the setup they have. Like I know Dobesh had a bit of a tough game last game, but I would leave it as it is. So I'm going to say not at all.
Absolutely for Primo return in NHL with the Montreal before the end of the season. Marco, both are gone. Devorek Evans at the trade deadline.
No, I'm going to say not at all. I don't think both of them will be gone. Like I mentioned in our trade speculation segment, I don't think, unless their tires get blown off like with an offer, I don't think they're going to move Dvorak, especially if they trade Evans. I don't think that's going to happen.
And after,
yeah, I would agree with you, Marco. I think one of them for sure will be gone, but not both. So not at all.
Okay, we all agree with you of that. Not allowed for that one. It was an easy one. There you go. And that's it. Patrick Laine is gone this summer. We don't talk about him earlier, but this summer, before the beginning of season next year.
You know what? I don't see him here beyond the 2 years, but I don't think it'll be this summer. I think if anything, it'll be a trade deadline time next year. So I'll say not at all.
Marco?
Yeah, same for me. I'm going to say not at all. Like, I think he would have to do something really, really bad. Like, it would have to go really, really terribly. Like, if he has like another interpersonal issue with somebody in the dressing room or something like that, like things would really have to go really poorly for Montreal
you almost put Martin Saint-Louis out of the bus today with his comments.
Yeah, did you hear that?
Yeah.
No. Well, I saw somebody post a part. Like all I saw is that there was a part that he put in where he said, "At the end of the day, I know I'm playing less, but at the end of the day, it just means you have to look in the mirror and go back to work hard," or something like that. That's what he said.
Well, he said or something like at the beginning he said that. After that he said that, but before that he said that it will help me. This will help me to play more during the tournament. So
yeah, I don't think that's
he turned around that way on that side. But hey, at the end of the day, guys, he's going to be buy out. And
no, not out, really?
Yeah.
No.
Oh my god. Yeah. Why would they do that? Why would they do that?
That's a lot of money, coach.
No, not at all. $4 million only. and after that is only $2 million, and the money is
for how many years?
Only
how many
1 year.
years?
2 years max.
So
1 year,
$2 years,
$4 million, and 1 year, $2.3 million. So the money for this year they spent on Jake Allen and on the Petrie is approximately the same kind of money. So they would prefer to buy him out because what he bring inside the locker room.
What? But
I can wait. I can wait July 27. He said, "Coach, he was right again." Just kidding.
I can't wait.
Or not. I can't wait not at all.
I can't wait till they re-sign Dvorak this summer. That's going to be awesome. That's going to be the. If they sign Dvorak, guys, we should have a whole stream dedicated to do clips of everybody shitting on me for the whole year about Dvorak. That's going to be a good show.
Yeah, we could do a lot of digging.
But if Dvorak signed with Montreal and Marko, I bring back Mike Hoffman.
Oh, wow.
Next. Not at all.
Not at all.
Mr. Lartap, Kent Hughes does 4 trades a plus at the trade deadline.
My God, 4 trades or plus? I don't know if it'll be that high. I mean, if they were still in the mix, I'd say absolutely not. I'm not going to discount it, but I don't know if he's going to go 4. Like, I don't think he really is going to rock the boat too much. I could see as many as 3, but I'm going to go with not at all. I don't see 4 or more.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's a lot of maneuvering, right? So yeah, I don't see him being that active. No, I don't see that at all. I think we'll be lucky if we get 2. Maybe we get. I don't know if we'll even get 2. I don't know.
Yeah.
I go with absolutely.
Wow.
What can you say? Mr. Lartap. Oh no, Marko, last one. You like to make predictions, so let's finish with that one. We know we just talked about this, but Canada win the 4 Nations.
Yeah, again, I'm going to say they are favored to win. On paper, I think they have the best team. I think they have the most experienced team. They should win. Other than the goaltending makes it a little bit nervous, but I still think they should have enough to win. But there's just, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Like right now, there's a swag. There's a swag that you can't really, there's an intangible swag happening with the US versus Canada right now. Not just in hockey, just in our mind right now. So I'm going to say US finds a way to win.
And Lartap?
I think my answer is right there, right behind me.
Absolutely for you.
You know what? Absolutely.
I go with not at all.
No, I was just going to say
the final score 5-4. So I cannot go around about that. Wow, what a great show! I think it was really good overall. We take a lot of great comments about Vapoli in the chat, and we have a great host tonight on this show. And last word, Marko, before you go in our tap, what are you looking for 4 Nations tournament?
Well, good news for them is there's no other hockey on. So I love hockey. So whatever it is you put in front of me, I'll watch. So very excited to watch it. I'll be having the chat in the background. So I'll be looking forward to chatting with everybody as we watch the game. So enjoy it, guys. Like, it's a good precursor to the Olympics as well, too. So really looking forward to it. So lots of fun being on with you, Entertap, again. We don't do it often enough. Lots of fun.
Likewise.
Always.
Likewise, Marko. Awesome.
And after I
agree 100%.
One more thing to say about the 4 Nations. Other fact you were looking for watching what?
I mean, for me, it's obviously the action. It's the level of competition that I'll be looking at. But I'm going to throw out a couple things out there in terms of players with the most things to win or lose or gain in this tournament. I'm going to look at things like we mentioned Hellebuck. That's extremely important. I think Mitch Marner is another one to look out for.
Good point.
And possibly can Elias Pettersson get it back on track for Sweden. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
At the end of the day, guys, are only looking me to have a good game and to have intensity. And this is just a preview of the Olympics. And the sad thing, we're just missing another country like Russia to play inside that tournament. I think it would be more fun for them to understand. And most important things, guys, whatever you are cheering for any team in Asia, we don't want any injuries have an impact for its fan players because that's not good for the league at the end. So I think we did everything, guys. I'm going to let you go, both of you. Before you leave, we want to thank all of you co-hosts tonight because
you are awesome. You are amazing. You are the best. And remember, you have greatness inside of you.
Here we go. That's all for tonight. We appreciate all the people in the chat. RJ Calabro, the news update, and Master Ron, and the channel of the moderator. And all the people click on the like. We appreciate that. Don't forget to be back at 8 o'clock p.m. for another game between the first game of the Four Nations, Canada, Sweden, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Marko in our tap. We wish you an amazing, great night. I can't wait to see you during the next couple of days. We'll see you next week talking about the fourth tournament, where we at that moment. So good night, both of you. Thanks again to be with me tonight.
Have a good night, everyone.
Coach, and thanks for having us.
Here we go. That's conclude another notebook with Marko Larabi, our co-host, the regular co-host of that show. We also thanks Enarta to be with us tonight, talking about the Montreal Canadiens, of course, and of course of the Four Nations. Hopefully, you guys, you have a great time tonight. I can wait to see you until the next time. Until then, remember the Hockey Nation show, the Habs Nation. Want to tell you one thing. We love you, friends. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Booyah!